And I cut this large chunk that I need for 7 days total. I don't cut it up into smaller pieces until the week that I portion it. So this is 7 days worth of liver that I'm gonna put into the container right now. Now these raw meaty bones from rabbit legs, these are the front legs. This is new, so this is gonna be brand new for Jericho, but the okay, so Jericho's definitely gonna like that. So here's the freezer I have this week plus a couple extra days over here in containers. Those are daily portions, and then the sealed bags. So these are 7 weeks worth of food. Hi friends, it's Jess and Jericho, and I get most of Jericho's food online, and I get some of the other ingredients at my local farmer's market. So when I buy online, I get from Here Today, and I just got this package, and this is going to be for the 8 weeks of food that I'm about to prep. So I got some duck hearts, and I have some meaty rabbit bones, and I've got some ground salmon with bone and ground beef. I also got these ground duck organs. I'm just gonna use those to make some dehydrated treats because Here Today does have a minimum pound requirement when you order, just to make sure that everything actually arrives frozen. So I had to get that extra 1 pound because everything else that I bought was only 9 pounds. 10 pounds is the absolute minimum. So I'm gonna make some treats with those and see how it works out. I also get some of Jericho's food from Raw Feeding Miami. They have whole prey quail that come from farms, whereas with Here Today, they come from a breeding facility, so I just prefer to do Raw Feeding Miami. The other thing is that Here Today was sold out of beef green tripe when I ordered, so I got the beef tripe from Raw Feeding Miami, and I also got some cow kefir just to fill up a little bit of the box so that, you know, everything arrives frozen. I get the secreting organs, lamb liver, and beef kidney from my local farmer's market. Beef spleen I actually buy from White Oak Pastures. This is a regenerative farm down in Georgia. I order from them, so whenever it comes around that I need more spleen, I'll do a bulk order from them so I can buy a bunch of ground beef for myself, then I can get the spleen from them as well. Haven't found spleen locally yet, and I also haven't found it at a raw pet food supplier. It is at Raw Feeding Miami, but I believe their smallest pack is 2.5 pounds, which is way too much. That would last way too long. So I buy 1 pound, and then I also eat that and share with Jericho, and we both eat very small amounts, so that 1 pound does last a long time. When I thaw everything, I put it in this big plastic container in a tub of water. So this has been in there for about 2 hours. The tripe is pretty much thawed. I like to keep that slightly frozen because then it doesn't stink as bad. So I'm just gonna remove some of the things that are pretty much already thawed. So like the rabbit bones are pretty thawed because those sink to the bottom. There's still a nice airtight seal there, so they didn't float. And I found the same with the chicken necks. Those sank right to the bottom, so those are pretty much thawed. The other stuff like the ground meats and the duck hearts I'm gonna have to keep in there for longer, and you know, until they're thawed. So I'm just gonna return this stuff back to the refrigerator until then. I ended up separating the ground meats because I found that when they're clumped together, then they kind of stay frozen longer. So I put them in individual baggies and then stayed in there for maybe like another hour or so. So I use this Food Saver vacuum sealer to vacuum seal Jericho's food, but first I'm gonna be cutting 7 weeks worth of baggies and then sealing them shut so that I have already portioned out baggies that I'm going to use for Jericho's food. The 8th week, I'm just gonna put in a glass container because I'm gonna portion that for this week and then put 7 weeks in the freezer. For my meal prep setup, I put down a food-grade silicone mat that keeps the counter clean. I use this baggie for the food, those jars for excess myoglobin, digital scale, plate, gloves, spoon, and my scissors. And then these are the freezer-safe, vacuum sealable bags that I'm gonna fill. I also like to put a little garbage bag next to me while I'm doing this so that I have an easy place to throw everything. So wrappers and anything that is excess garbage, because I order enough so that I can do 8 full weeks and not have any extra. So all of the bags and everything that I'm done with, I'm just gonna throw right next to me instead of having to like open a trash bin or go into the refrigerator. It's right next to me, so it's easy. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I like to do the secreting organs first, since I share those meats with Jericho, and it's just easier to portion it out that way. So I'm gonna start with the lamb liver. And I cut this large chunk that I need for 7 days total. I don't cut it up into smaller pieces until the week that I portion it. So this is 7 days worth of liver that I'm gonna put into the container right now. That's gonna be for this week, and the rest of it I'm gonna put into these freezer bags for the vacuum seal. And then I save the myoglobin in those little jars, freeze those, and then that's what I use when I'm portioning his food for that week. So I'll add a little bit of that to each daily portion just so that it's split up evenly. So basically I continue the same with all of the other ingredients. So then I'll move on to the ground stuff just because that takes up a lot of space. And this is boneless ground beef. So I usually just weigh out the 7 days worth and then stuff it in the container, stuff it into the bag. Now these raw meaty bones from rabbit legs, these are the front legs. This is new, so this is gonna be brand new for Jericho. I wanted to test out a different raw meaty bone and, you know, not always rely on chicken wings. And Jericho's intrigued, so that's a good sign. That means he's gonna like it. So I'm excited to see how that goes. He did have rabbit in the beginning when I started feeding him raw, but this is gonna be the first time eating rabbit bones. So, you know, cutting through these was pretty easy. Now I'm just cutting through the skin and the meat. But the, okay, so Jericho's definitely gonna like that. So I've got my 7 freezer bags and then the 8th week in that container, and Jericho's making sure that I do it right. And so this is, I'm gonna leave this in the container and portion that out later. So that is 1 week plus a couple days worth of food. And then what I'm gonna do, what I found is very helpful, is to flatten them out. So flatten them out because then I feel like it gets a much better seal. There's a lot more, it freezes a little bit quicker before you vacuum seal it, because if you vacuum seal it right now, there's gonna be a lot of liquid that comes out. So what I'll do is I'll stack them in the freezer on top of each other, and there might be some ice that collects in there, but it's better than, if you're gonna vacuum seal it right away, there's gonna be a lot of liquid and moisture, and that's gonna create a lot of air in there as well, because it's not gonna get a tight vacuum seal. So you're gonna get some ice on it anyway, some freezer burn on it anyway. So I just stack these up and then leave them in the freezer for about 5 or 6 hours, and then I vacuum seal it, because I found that it does freeze a little bit to the point where it's more solid, there's not as much liquid coming out of the meats, and it will get a much tighter seal. So cleanup is really easy. Like I said, with this mat, it makes the counter easy to clean up. Got the garbage right there. Jericho making sure I do everything right, and everything just goes into the sink. And I just clean everything with hot water and soap. And it's really easy when you're using the gloves because your hands aren't continuously sticky and full of moisture. And the food grade silicone mat makes cleanup very easy as well. You don't even have to wipe the counter down because everything stays on the mat. So here's the freezer I have this week plus a couple extra days over here in containers. Those are daily portions. And then the sealed bags. So these are 7 weeks worth of food. So this one, you can see with the quail, there's a hump there. So there's a little bit of space. And I decided to do the quail separately because I just found that without the quail, the seal was much better. So with this one, there's not as much ice and there's not as much air, and it's much more flat, so it was able to get a good seal. I'll put links to everything that I use in the description, and you can check out this video right over Meow. If you're ready to make homemade cat food, that is my complete guide that'll show you everything that you need to do from start to finish. Thank you for watching.